22, reading from verses 1 to 14. Jesus again used parables in talking to the people. The kingdom of heaven is like this. Once there was a king who prepared a wedding feast for his son. He sent his servants to tell the invited guests to come to the feast, but they did not want to come. So he sent other servants with this message to the guests. My feast is ready now, my bullocks and prize calves have been butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast. But the invited guests paid no attention and went about their business. One went to his farm, another to his shop, while others grabbed the servants, beat them and killed them. The king was very angry, so he sent his soldiers who killed those murderers and burnt down their city. Then he called his servants and said to them, my wedding feast is ready, but the people I invited did not deserve it. Now go to the main streets and invite to the feast as many people as you find. So the servants went out into the streets and gathered all the people they could find, good and bad alike, and the wedding hall was filled with people. The king went in to look at the guests and saw a man who was not wearing wedding clothes. Friend, how did you get in here without wedding clothes? The king asked him. But the man said nothing. Then the king told the servants, tie him up hand and foot, and throw him outside in the dark. There he will cry and grind his teeth. And Jesus concluded, many are invited, but few are chosen. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. I just want to preach for a few minutes about God's invitation, because that's why we are here. And on Friday, we had the funeral of one of our members, a lady called Francella Greenwood. And Francella died a few weeks ago, and 5 days after Francella died, her husband died. And they lived just through the streets back there. And it's the first time in over 40 years of ministry that Merv and I have ever had a double funeral. And so Francella's casket, because it was a casket, not a coffin, was here, and Raymond's was here. But only 30 people could come in. That's why track and trace is so important, and that's why, although it feels a bit strange at the moment to contact Charles to check that you can get in, it's just the safest way, because, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 people were outside. They were okay, and they knew they probably couldn't get in. But how strange. I'm in the middle of preparing at least 2 couples for weddings over the next few weeks in this church. 15 people to a wedding. Now, of course, all people do who it is, but don't worry, you never know either. So, 15 people. How do you choose which 15 people? And you're going to offend 500 other people. And yet, here in this story, we can imagine how the king felt. He'd invited the people he wanted to come to this wedding banquet. And when it was ready, he told them, please come, everything is ready. And one after the other, they made excuses. What happened was they were so busy with their own lives, they didn't want to share the joy of this wedding banquet. So he sends his servants out with these words, now go to the main street and invite to the feast as many people as you find. Other versions of the Bible just say, invite everyone. Everyone is invited, and God's invitation is to invite everyone. And this is the gospel command, that we are to share the good news of Jesus with everyone. last 7 months, because as I said last week, so apologies to the few of you here today who have heard me say this last week, it's 7 months since we were here. It was the second Sunday of March. We had the evening revival service led by the young people. And my memory was a young lad called Emmanuel played his guitar and got around the applause, and he's here again. This is a new generation. Sam is old school now. New generation. Not really, it's still easy. And then we had Revival Sunday at Broadwater Farm on the third Sunday. 7 months. And so as a circuit, as a church, we've tried to find new ways of reaching out to thousands of people. Sometimes our Sunday worship is watched by over 2,000 people around the world. Now that's homes, so in some homes it might be 2 or 3. So we've been reaching people, trying to reach everyone. And that's what we have to do as we're reopening now. We've got to find new ways. How can we invite everyone to come and know the joy of Jesus Christ? And let me just invite you to look at this passage when you go home, because we can't give out Bibles at the moment. They're all laced with COVID, apparently. So, but what it says is, the servants went and they invited good and bad alike. In other words, when Jesus says everyone, he means everyone. And we are not to judge who Jesus wants to bring into our church. Good and bad alike. So, God's invitation is for everyone to come to Christ. Last Sunday felt very different. We had a similar number, maybe a few more last Sunday morning. And as people came in, there was a real sense of joy that at long last they could come. And I hope you feel that today. I know one or two of you just had a quick word before we started. The real joy of being able to come back. Okay, it's on. We're wearing face masks. We want to sing loudly, but we're trying to restrain ourselves. It all feels very, very strange. But one of the hallmarks of being a Christian is joy. You and I are meant to be filled with joy. And a wedding feast should be full of joy. Those of you who've never been married, do you remember your wedding feast? I hope it was a day full of joy, even if it cost a lot of money. And birthdays and births of babies or births of babies yet to come are moments of real joy. And that's why Paul says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again I say, rejoice. Now there's perhaps not been much joy these last 7 months for many of us. Perhaps all of us in church today know somebody who's been affected by COVID. We know people who have died. We know people who have lost their jobs. We know people who've been furloughed and are getting worried what happens when the furlough scheme comes to an end at the end of the month. But in the midst of it, there is joy. Hear again what the psalmist said in Psalm 30. Tears may flow in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And so there's the joy of many frontline workers and volunteers who've been honoured this weekend in the Queen's birthday honours list. Did anybody get one? No, I didn't either. But we celebrate with joy those who found really good ways to help people over these last 6 or 7 months. The joy of seeing children and grandchildren again when we were allowed to, but who knows what tomorrow's announcement will bring. The joy that Myrtle and I have had of delivering food parcels among our congregation, and just knowing that the visit with Myrtle, because I'm normally in the car, Myrtle standing socially distanced from the front door and visiting particularly some of our older people who are desperate just to see another human person. The joy that some of us have had with family quizzes, moments of real laughter that I hope you've had over these last months. Joy, joy, joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. Christians, you and I should know that joy. And we come with joy. The invitation is to come with joy with Jesus. Because Jesus says, have no anxiety about anything, but come with thanksgiving and make all your requests known to God. This morning, you can come with joy to the Lord because you can tell him anything and everything. God's invitation, come. It's an invitation for everyone to come to Jesus. It's an invitation for us to come rejoicing with Jesus. I think one of the problems for some of us who have had to work from home for 7 months and to do a lot of it by Zoom is when you get up in the morning, you don't think sometimes what you're going to wear. Now, if you're having to go out every day to work, to an office, to a shop, to wherever you work, then you're conscious of what you wear. But I know that I tended to wear more of my sort of casual clothes if I went walking in the streets that would drop dead, saying, you can't go out dressed like that. And I think some of you today have really enjoyed putting on what I might call your Sunday clothes. Because when you've been at home for 7 months, just living alone, looking after a family, being furloughed, or those of us working on Zoom, just on Zoom, nobody sees what you're wearing. And so long as you've got something up here, nobody can see whether you're still in your pajamas, can they? Obviously. Yeah. And the number of Zoom calls I've had with people in their dressing gowns. And that's in the middle of the day. And yet when you go out, sometimes you say, what shall I wear? Because you want to wear the right clothes. You don't want to be odd out. And this poor man, he went at the invitation of the king to the banquet, but he hadn't got the right clothes on. So he got thrown out. So if the invitation from God is to everyone, if the invitation is to come rejoicing, then the invitation is to come wearing the right clothes. And what are the right clothes? Well, the answer is there in Philippians chapter 4. Paul says, fill your minds with those things that are good, are true, are noble, are right, are pure, lovely and honourable. In other words, we need to clothe ourselves in Jesus Christ. And if, sisters and brothers, you clothe yourself in Christ, then God will welcome us with open arms and say, come and share in my banquet. Yesterday was World Mental Health Day, where the world focused on the increasing number, particularly of children and young people, suffering mental health issues. Seems to me one of the things that we as a church can offer is to help people whose minds are filled with so many things to come to know what it is to have the mind of Jesus Christ, to be clothed in Jesus Christ. And in a few moments I invite you to come, and the invitation is for everyone to come and receive bread and wine, and to come rejoicing, knowing that you have been called and you have been chosen, and as you eat and as you drink, to know that you are clothed in Christ. May God bless us as we come